Scottie McCLUE, and the time is 23 minutes past 9 on Wednesday evening, Wednesday the 1st of June, the glorious 1st of June 2022. How lovely to have you with us, and welcome, 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 I say. Just a quick random pop-up just to see what's been happening with you. I think that's very, very important. Tell 10 to tell 10 to tell 10 that Scottie McCLUE is live, and we will get you on and see what is what. That's always very, very important. So there you have it. Now you know what is what. Now you know what matters. That's what I would say to you. Well, I think we know what matters anyway. And do come and give us your chat. That's always a good thing as well. Let us know what you're doing for the Queen's Jubilee. Are you having a street party to celebrate Her Majesty 70 years on the throne of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland? Did you do on the 1st of the month? Looking forward to celebrating the Jubilee tomorrow. Absolutely, Chris. And I think we'll have a full and busy day tomorrow for the Jubilee. No doubt about it. Fantastic. So lovely to have you all with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're watching Scottie McCLUE, First Lord of the Internet, the one-stop broadcaster. Hashtag FLOTI, all in uppercase. Scottie, hello, and dinky do. Kareem, how lovely to have you with us. Dinky do. Kareem, I've opened up the lines. If you wanted to come and have a wee chat with us, you'd be very, very welcome. I'll just see everything's opened up. Yep, we seem to be fine there. So do come and give us a call, and let's hear your wonderful chat. You're live on Scotty's phone in. Who's that?
Thank you, Scottie. Scottie, I can't hear you again. I'll stay on the line.
Hang on. Yes, hang on. Just stay on.
I'll stay
Let's
on the line.
stay on the line. Go nowhere till we get this sorted. I can see what it is. There we are.
Still can't hear you, Scottie.
No,
I'll
just
stay on the line.
hang on. Wonderful stuff. There we are. Now, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Scottie.
I need to see if I can sort this, Kareem. It just suddenly went like that. So if it suddenly went like that, we must be able to sort it, you know what I mean?
Yes. No, it's static gremlins.
Are we gremlin? Well, I think it's just the first call. So I think we need to see if there's a way we can unmute that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I shall have a look at that. There'll be an instruction that says mute on startup or something, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's
something under the nose, I know.
Totally. Something right
Scottie,
under the nose, yes. We are wonderful, Kareem, and I got your social media posts about people putting up posters against the Queen.
Well, I read that earlier on, and I just thought I need to add you into that, Scottie, because it goes everything against what you've spoke about on the show.
Yes.
It's about making Queen Elizabeth the last of the monarchy, and the amount of comments are it's brainwashed, so they are. They're
absolutely brainwashed. Silly. I mean, there is no way that's ever going to happen because they're forgetting what they're effectively saying. If the show was in America, they'd be saying, let's burn the stars and stripes. That's what they would be saying. You know, it's the same thing. I mean, the crown is going nowhere. And if they're true nationalists, they'll start backing the monarchy pronto.
Well, I think that the problem, I think, is there's a lot of people that are just, as I said, not educating themselves. Okay, you might not like the monarchy, but at the end of the day, they are who they are. They do stuff. They contribute a lot to society, and they bring a lot of money into society. And you've said this as well, Scottie. All the celebrations, this, that, they should be feeding the poor. I mean, at the end of the day, they're the royalists.
Yeah.
The royalists, they bring so much money in terms of tourism.
Well, it is feeding the poor. I mean, the money's going direct to the exchequer. I think she gives us something like, is it 80% of her income? I can't remember, but it's all going to the exchequer, and the politicians need to feed the poor. If you had no monarchy, don't kid yourself, there would be no poor people. You know, I mean, say for instance, there was no monarchy tonight. Does that mean the food banks could all close?
No.
You see?
And there's talk, and I'm quite disappointed with and I will say it, the Scottish Greens.
Yes.
Because they did walk out. There was some type of celebration, and there was no representation.
Well, you see, that just looks bad. Mm-hmm. That just looks bad. It looks tiny. It looks petty. It looks ill-informed.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
But it's the way things are going. And there was a poll today, Scottie, and I had to laugh at it. I really don't know. I really scratch my head sometimes when I look at Scotland, because it's sitting neck and neck, 50%, 50%
yeah.
for yes and no. Mm-hmm. And I really don't know what else Westminster can do to the people of Scotland with all, we don't need to go into, but all the stuff that's been in the press for
yes.
months upon months upon months. Yes. And people here in Scotland still want to be a part of that.
What we need, they don't necessarily want to be a part of it, but they are ingrained with the monarchy and with the concept of if there's no union, they could lose the monarchy. And it's the absolute key. I cannot stress this enough. The second every Scottish nationalist backs the monarchy 100%, you will see a huge difference in that vote.
I think this should be an opportunity this weekend for the Jubilee, in terms of, as Ian Blackford said in the past, the monarchy is going nowhere.
Yes.
That has to be repeated, that has to be respected, and that has to be put across to people. Now, there might be people there think, well, we want to vote, we're not happy. It's a small percentage. I don't agree with that. I think, why would they want to vote and throw away something that is...
Well, I think what they need to do, Kareem, is the nationalists need to take a political gamble and appear, you know, very, very supportive of the Queen and the Crown. And if they do that, their stock will go shooting up.
Yeah, no. The 20 million has been put aside, and that was just announced the other day for the referendum next year. So there's still a lot of people saying, it's not going to go ahead. But if I put money by and it's the engagement and the talking starts now, there's your first question, Scottie. The monarchy, it's going nowhere. It shouldn't be up for debate. It should not be a referendum.
And if that gets answered, because this concept of a republic, why would you want a headless chicken?
Well, what is the benefit of a republic?
No benefit at all. I mean, you ask the people of Ireland. I mean, they're sitting there, but do you know what I mean? It's not, you know, Ireland is very much part of Europe. So they've got a big boss in Europe, and they've got a political boss. They've got a president. You know what I'm saying? Right. But they've still got that hierarchy there. And I think it's very important. And it's still not settled after 100 years. I mean, there's a lot of argy-bargy going on now. I actually did a video on TikTok and on YouTube last week to say, should Ireland start to make a choice?
Well, I think that definitely the Sinn Féin has made it very clear that there will be a referendum within the next 5 years or so. And I think if they're smart, they will look at what's happened with the Scottish one.
Yep, absolutely.
Back in the day, and what's going to happen now if next year this referendum goes ahead? All the dirty new tricks that's going to be used for them, because everything that's been used here will just be the exact same.
Well, you see, it's interesting. What we need to find out here, Kareem, and this is pivotal. Scotland, we know, is worth an absolute fortune to Westminster.
Yes.
So that's the reason Westminster won't let it go, because they want to keep it as a cash cow, and they want to keep milking that cash cow, and they want to take our income and give us back our pocket money. Now, I suspect the situation in Northern Ireland is different. How much does Northern Ireland bring into Westminster, and how much does it cost Westminster? You see? And that was, if we start to know that, then we will know if Westminster wants to hang on to Northern Ireland or not, and if Northern Ireland wants to hang on to Westminster.
Wouldn't it be interesting that if Scotland voted yes next year, and then they're losing the biggest cash cow, they won't want to hang on to Northern Ireland, pumping billions over there and getting nothing back in return.
That's the whole thing, you see. What has Northern Ireland got in natural resources that it's selling to Westminster? Because the track record, all you've got to do, Kareem, is look at your history books. And politicians don't do that for some reason, or they appear not to. And it's all been done before. My grandfather used to say, there's nothing new under the sun, my boy. And he had a point, because if you have a look at the history books, you will see that Britain, i.e. England, if you like, has always bought and sold other countries.
Yeah.
Even if it didn't own them. You know what I mean? It administered them. It occupied them, and it's bought and sold other countries. Now, the reason a country very often got their independence was because they weren't bringing anything to the table financially and economically. You see? And if it's found out, I mean, the case is the number of countries that have been dropped from Britain's portfolio, if you like, of countries because they weren't bringing anything to the party. Well, not, for instance, there's Aden, completely sold out. Now, it was a very wealthy, powerful port, and it was a great stopping off place. It was pivotal. But when that kind of travel and transport was no longer the main method, they dropped Aden like a hot potato. And it was a wealthy place because, you know, it was where you could pick up oil and tankers and shipping and what have you. And the people, the British people that worked there, you know, had quite a nice lifestyle. Very, very hot, of course, right out there in the old Middle East. But, you know, I mean, very, very popular. You know, but then that 1968, we want out of here. Gone.
We'll find out, Scottie, but as I said, I do think this weekend should be really the start of the Yes campaign, and there's going to be people, what I've seen with the movement is there's a lot of bickering and infighting, as there always is with these things, but they should be all coming together for that one cause, that's the yes vote. Yes. Everything else can be debated, it can be argued at a later date. Let's get the yes, and then that's when we can start to shape and build different things. I don't see an issue with the monarchy. I've said that before. When I started listening to your shows, when you Nation Radio, I was really against the monarchy, but actually listening to what you've said and the arguments, it makes sense to have a monarchy, in my opinion.
Well, yes, I mean, well, it makes complete and utter sense because it's part of our biggest asset, and one of the wonderful assets of the monarchy, apart from bringing in huge cash, you'll notice that the half-wits argument are things like leeches, parasites costing us a fortune, all that. Now, that's just complete and utter rubbish. That's just nonsense. So these arguments don't hold any water. I mean, if I thought the monarchy wasn't a good thing, I would say so. But it's got that kind of stability and continuity. For instance, the Queen has had several prime ministers, starting with Winston Churchill. And he charged at the Battle of Omdurman in the 1890s. You see, he was a soldier in the 1890s and actually did a cavalry charge at the Battle of Omdurman. Now, cavalry charges went straight out of fashion when the machine gun came in, because end of cavalry, people, end of horses. And fighting on horseback had been the way since time began. All the knights of old in the 1200s and all that. And then suddenly the machine gun just displaced it. Said, if you cavalry charge us, as you'll see it in a lovely film called War Horse, and the German officer comes out and he says to the British public school officers who had done a full cavalry charge and it had ended in disaster because they'd opened up on the machine guns. And he said, you know, what did you think we would do? Do you think we were undefended? Who do you think you are? And that's a very, very powerful phrase. Who do you think you are? And so much of Britain's petard came from who they thought they were. And when George V said to his eldest son, David, Edward VIII, that abdicated, he said to never forget who you are. And the king said to himself, and who was I? You see, who was I? Because these are human beings doing a very difficult job that's been foisted upon them. You know, and the money that's coming into the crown, it's going to the poor if the politicians deem it fit. But the Queen doesn't run the show, the politicians do, but she can advise and warn.
Well, at the end of the day, if people aren't happy, then it's quite simple. Stop voting the Tory party in, you know, and start. They had the chance to make a real change in 2014. People voted to be a part of what's going on here, and I've said that many times before. Things that are happening now, people are feeling the pinch now. You voted to be part of that.
Yes.
Brexit, we voted to stay overwhelmingly, and England voted, no, we want to leave. So we are suffering again. But
Absolutely.
Again, I still don't understand why it's still neck and neck 50-50. I think a lot of people need to really just get out.
Well, I think you'll find a lot of it is to do with the monarchy, and a lot of it is to do with old-fashioned denominations of Christianity. And I think that they haven't quite got their head round it, because the reason the declaration of Arbroath, the Scottish throne, came by the people, well, via the aristocracy, because they were probably the only ones that could read and write at the time at that level. And they wrote to His Holiness, the Pope, to say, can we choose our own king? So effectively, that's another thing. When the half-wits say, oh, they're unelected. No, they're elected in perpetuity, their heirs and successors. You know, they were elected at the Declaration of Arbroath in the 1300s. There's your Scottish monarchy. And in 1603, your Scottish monarchy took over the English crown. And it's very, very basic, simple stuff. And yet the half-wits will argue it, but they've not got a case. And all they're going to do if they don't back the crown is that independence, Indy Ref 2, will fail as Indy Ref 1 did. And you can see it again if you look at the history of the Scottish National Party. There was a point when it was perceived to be too Catholic.
Right, okay.
You see, it's as simple as that. And it would just blow that out the water if you said, no, we're 100% behind our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth, Her Majesty the Queen, as our head of state for Scotland. No change there. Yep. Status quo, sorted. And any half-wits shouting for a republic are in danger of killing off independence.
I've said that in a few posts before, and you've got the half-wits that just you know, oh, nonsense. And
They
as
don't
you
get
have
it.
said, if you want independence, then accept the monarchy.
Yeah.
If you're really that passionate to have an independent Scotland, accept the monarchy. It's not a big deal at the end of the day.
Because it would be very hard for the monarch to say no to independence if their position is 100% guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, they need to be using the quotes from Ian Blackford down south, saying that I've said before in his interview that the monarchy is going nowhere, it's not up for discussion, it stays. And I think that has to be the case. You would think people just now that are thinking strategically and tactically, what are they going to be doing for their campaign? This is things they should be thinking at. What are the issues?
Step one, I mean, you know, I don't know what's happening. I might campaign myself. You know,
right.
Independence, you know, pro-monarchy, independence under the crown.
Well, I think people will listen, Scottie, and no doubt when the date is set, this is stuff that I'm sure you'll be discussing on your shows. to get the point across to people that we need the monarchy, we need a yes vote. If you say no to the monarchy, goodbye to the yes vote. That's simple as that.
That's it. It's toast. Here's a lovely comment for you, Kareem, from Virtual Gecko. I don't really mind about the Jubilee, Scottie. We just got stuck out the World Cup. Gutted.
Yeah.
Poor Scotland tonight with Ukraine. Well done, Ukraine. Glorious failure, says J.D. Donnelly. You were lucky tonight. Best of luck for the future. The trouble is, the youth of today don't need facts to fight a crusade. Wow, fantastic man, Scottie, says Ambassador. And RM250, grip it. Love your content, Scottie. There we go. Isn't that beautiful?
Excellent, Scottie. Well, look, listen, I just thought I thought it was important just to add you in that earlier on Facebook.
And I'm very grateful to you.
No, and I just think the more we try to educate people out there, you know, like you showing the video, putting that clip there, the more people will see that in time. It's a slow process, but hopefully some people will.
Well, I hope everybody sends that video around. That's my only slight concern, is that we need to get to really, really, really big audiences. You know, so I will be happy when 250,000 people have seen that video.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure when the independent state is set, there'll be an interest throughout the world again like there was last time. There'll be a lot of debates here, so there will be people looking at that video. What's Scottie McCLUE to say about this?
Yes.
And there's your answers right there.
Because that used to be the thing always, was people would say if they can get by Scottie McCLUE, they've got my vote. So maybe I should start interviewing the politicians live.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Scottie, thank you for taking my call. I'll think of something for Saturday night.
Yes.
And I just wanted to get that off my chest.
And we'll probably be live at some point tomorrow, and we'll be live at some point on Friday.
Perfect. I'll see you then. Okay.
Dinky do. Bless you, Kareem. Tarala. Top man. There we are. That's our Kareem. What an amazing guy. Fantastic points tonight, guys. Dinky do, Scottie. Ambassador Dinky do. Now, who have we got here? Aberdeen's the breadwinner of the UK. J.D. Donnelly. And then many a true word spoken in jest. There we are. Now then. You're live on Scottie's phone in. Who's that?
Scottie, I'll give you a clue. I'm Scottish for Newmarket.
Scottish for Newmarket. Eddie.
Aye. Oh, you've got a great memory.
How lovely to hear you. This is a real privilege.
Aye. So how are you doing tonight, my friend?
We're fine, Eddie. We're just getting a real good bit of chat here.
Aye.
You know? And
listen, I mean, like, right, you might disagree with me, right?
Right.
But there's enough things going on in the world as it is. Right? Now, politics and the government have got their place.
Yes.
But it's not, they're not everything when it comes to life and surviving, Scottie. Would you agree?
Politics have got their place. No, well, politics are an interesting concept because they're called the art of the possible. So you can make things happen. I mean, look, we're out of Europe. 70 million of us have lost our European citizenship for nothing. We've lost 250 billion quid for nothing. You know, so all that politics made that happen.
One thing that I would ask you, Scottie, right, and a man of your knowledge and your calibre, right, because I know you're a man about the world, you're a very intelligent man, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up your you-know-what, right?
Absolutely.
But do you think, when it comes to the votes in Britain, right, to see who's going to take over, do you think they're rigged?
Do I think they're right? Did you say?
Rigged, Scottie. Rigged.
Right.
No, rigged. R-I-G-G-E-D. Rigged. Do you think it's like a setup?
Oh, do I think they're rigged? I would have said no, to be honest with you, because it's not the British way. That's not to say there haven't been elements of strange happenings, because we've actually seen stuff. But I also don't trust a lot of these wee videos of, look what's happening here, because that could be set up. So I'd always, like a young person once said to me, do you have, he was from Indonesia, I think. He said, do you have corruption in your country? And I had to think carefully before I answered that. And I said, we like to think not. But see some of the recent goings on at very high level in British politics. I've been shocked that that's even allowed to happen. I've been shocked that we've lowered our game to that extent.
Right.
You see?
Right.
So,
Okay.
sorry, I couldn't hear you. I thought you said, do you think they're right? Do you think they're rigged? I don't know.
No, that's all right, Scottie.
I have a feeling that there might have been shenanigans at the American election. Shenanigans. And, you know, there could be shenanigans at the edge of British stuff. But, for instance, the referendum was very clever. The Leave campaign was very, very heavily financed because it was in the interests of a lot of rich people to get us out of Europe so they didn't have to pay their tax.
Right. Now, here's something I'm going to put across to you, Scottie, right? Now, I'm Scottish, right, and I'm born and bred, and I'm proud to be Scottish, right?
Quite right.
But to be honest, right, and I want to know your honest opinion on this, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I think if Scottish went independent, it would have fallen through the floor.
What makes you think that?
It makes you think that because, like, you know, like what they say about Scottish having their own government, separate to England. I don't think that would have worked, Scottie.
Well, it's working at the moment. They've got that, but what they don't have is the opportunity to hang on to their own income. So if you suddenly, I mean, let's say we bring in 75 billion to Westminster. Let's say we get back just for discussion purposes. Let's say we get back 25 billion. That means we've handed 50 billion to Westminster from the Scottish economy. Right. If we were independent and there was 50 million swishing about in the Scottish, 50 billion, per annum swishing about in the Scottish coffers, that's a different ballgame.
What do you mean swishing about?
Well,
do you mean like it's no in the books?
Right, right, here we go. You work all week and you stay with your ma, right? You go home to your ma and you give your ma your wages, which are 200 quid. Right? So you say, Ma, there's my wages. Oh, thanks, son. So she's 200 quid up. She goes, but wait a minute, you'll need something for a wee pint. There's 20 quid back. So she's got 180 swishing about in the apron. Now she then has to start taking off your sausage, bacon and egg in the morning. And your mince and totties, your broth, your mince and totties, and your steamed pudding and custard for lunch, and your scones and your high tea. So once she's whipped that lot off, she's still got a bit swishing about.
Right. I know for a fact, right, I just know within my spirit that you're going to know what I'm talking about when I say this, right? When you see a lot of money squishing about, right, do you think there's a lot of money squishing about through under the table as in secret handshakes? And I think you know what I'm talking about, Scottie.
No, I don't.
You don't agree with that?
I don't think so, because that's not actually how the world works. I mean, when you're talking, about,
I'm willing to be educated by you.
No, when you're talking about things like that, that is, you see, what you've done, you've opened a huge area for discussion. Well, not necessarily that kind of ones, but you've opened a huge area for discussion, because there are, when you say secret handshakes, there are economies where there are big money things done that aren't necessarily straight in the books, if you like. So,
that's what I'm saying,
but I'm talking about things like we need money to finance this. So you've got things like you could have arms floating about, you know?
Right.
We'll get the
Right.
money for that. Who's actually paying for that? Do you see what I mean?
Aye, I see what you mean, but I mean, like, for talk's sake, I was on Facebook the other day, Scotty, right, and I seen an advert from British Gas, and it says the government have put 2 million, right, into British Gas for people who are struggling to pay these energy bills. 2 million, Scotty, man, they could have put in a lot more than that, mate.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But the thing is, there are billions of profit. You see, it makes me laugh when we hear that Westminster has given Scotland even more money. And you think, what you mean is you've given us a little of our own back. So let's
makes me laugh, no, Scotty.
You know, I mean, I think, no, you haven't given us anything. And it's the same when the government say, we're giving you this money. They're giving us our own money back.
Money back. You're right, Scotty, man.
So because we've already paid, because governments do not have any money. Like, there is no source of money in this country, apart from the taxpayer. The money, right, where all your finance and everything is in the City of London. The City of London is not actually part of the UK. It's a separate state, if you like. Her Majesty the Queen would have to get permission to visit the City of London. She would need to go by invitation.
Sorry if I butted in there, Scotty.
No.
Sorry. Right. A man of your knowledge, right? See, when according to the taxpayer, right? See, when it comes into the funds of a taxpayer in Britain, right? If we add it all together, would you agree with it that it's billions?
Well, of course it is. I mean, I don't know the exact figure that goes into the exchequer.
I'm not saying the exact amount, but we can agree with it's billions.
Of course it's billions. Of course it's billions. I mean, think about it. People say, oh, there's only 10 people employed in that village. That might be a farming village or a fishing village where they're bringing in billions in food crops.
Listen, Scotty, right, I know I don't want to take too long.
No, you're absolutely fine because you're asking very pertinent questions.
Aye, but listen, I don't joke when I say it. You for member of parliament, definitely.
You think so?
Definitely. Oh no, I know so. Aye.
Well, I am starting to consider the future, and I can remember somebody saying, I've been invited on a number of occasions, but I've also spoken to very wise people who go, you're not spending your time in that place, you know, and the rest of it. But I would only do it if it was good for the people.
Aye, it's all about the people, isn't it?
It is all about the people.
Listen, Scotty, have I asked you any questions that have been wrong or offensive?
No.
And if I have, I'm sorry.
No, there's not 1 ounce of offensive-ness in what you're asking.
I've got the utmost respect for you, Scotty. You know?
Not 1 ounce of it. You've asked very pertinent questions. If you want me to be absolutely 100% upfront with you, right? I'm not talking about being honest. I'm talking about being upfront because we're always honest.
Be honest, Scotty.
And we're always honest. But if you want me to be 100% upfront, your questions have been so interesting and so good that we haven't been able to do them justice because you've asked about 3 or 4 big questions, and I think what we need to do is discuss 1 or 2.
I appreciate that, man.
Do you see what I'm saying? So that the questions are first class. I mean, question time doesn't cover what we cover on here. We just need to get a bigger audience all the time, and it needs everybody that watches Scottie McClue to be sharing and sharing and sharing and subscribing and following. And then once we build that, we can get right into the discussions.
I agree with you, Scotty, man. I agree with you 100%, mate. 100%. Listen, Scotty, I'll get up this line.
Top man, Eddie. Lovely to you, and love to Newmarket. Don't think because we like the idea of independence that there's any anti-English feeling at all.
I would have voted yes, Scotty, but I mean, like when it comes to the the finance of it, and like, do you not think it would be a financial?
No. Let me put it in perspective for you. We've been an independent country all our lives from the 900s, except for the last 314 years.
Right.
King William, the English king, had pulled the rug from under Scotland's feet. Scotland was then starving, right? Because he had money earmarked for the Darien scheme. That was the absolute mess that happened in the Isthmus of Panama, right? And the poor people died and lost their money and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, by that point, the nobles had all been fighting. Scotland was starving. And Queen Anne, by jiggery-pokery and skullduggery, because she was a bit of a rascal, she said to the nobles, I'll give you a few quid if you'll come and join us. So the people didn't have a say. There was no referendum. So we got dragged kicking and screaming. Now, you're talking about the economy. At that point, our economy was so poor that there was famine in Scotland and people were dropping dead in the country. Now, but here's the truth of the economy. Scotland's economy had to be seriously devalued to facilitate economic union.
Does it anger you? Does it make you angry?
What, the union?
No, does it make you angry for the country and the state that it's in?
It could be in a lot better state. Margaret Thatcher sucked the life out of Scotland and the bulk of England. Because she took all the money down to London to make her look good. You see what I mean? And the present government couldn't give two hoots about Scotland unless there's a danger of it leaving the Union. Does that not tell you everything?
That says a lot, Scottie,
You know, actually, it's actually saying it to you. If our economy was going to crash and we were worthless, they would have let us go.
But we're not worthless, Scottie.
No,
you know what I mean?
Worth a fortune. Have a read. Go online and have a read of the McCLUE report, 1975, and it was all hushed up. And that's the amount of money that was coming in.
All right, listen, Scottie, I'll let you go because I hope I'm not hogging the line.
You're never hogging the line. Lovely to hear you.
I speak to you because you've opened up my eyes and gave me a bit of insight to stuff that I didn't know.
Well, we're just giving you the facts. You make up your mind at the end of the day. And that's what you don't always get from politicians. You don't get the facts.
And that's what you need, facts.
I can actually prove it all to you.
What the media are saying and what's getting broadcast on television. We need the facts, man.
Correct. You need the facts to make up your mind.
Definitely.
Lovely talking to you, Eddie. And dig you do
love to you as well, Scottie. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Love to Cambridge and Newmarket.
What's that?
Love to Cambridge and Newmarket.
Yes, my friend. Yeah, love to you in Scotland, Scottie, and God bless you, my friend.
And you, sir. Right. Thanks. God bless, la. There we are. That's our Eddie. What a top man down in Newmarket in Cambridgeshire. Interesting man. Very interesting questions. So there we are. David McCafferty, good evening. Roy and Michael Taylor from beautiful Scotland. Have a nice night. Good evening, folks. God save the Queen, says the wonderful David Taylor. Good evening, all, says Susan. Good evening, sir, from lovely Derbyshire. Roy Michael, good evening. Hi, Scottie. I just noticed you're on. Not at all, David. Good call as usual from Kareem, says Susan. Absolutely. Hi, Scottie, says Streaky Bacon. 2-1 Ukraine. So there we are. Evening, Scottie, says Kenneth. Fantastic. So lovely to have you all with us, and welcome, welcome. Now then, Scottie, long time no see. How you doing, pal? Long boy. Fantastic. The trouble is, Scottie, oh yes, the Ukrainians love Boris. Wow, fantastic, Scottie. Sold the jerseys. There we have it. Well done, Ukraine. Evening, Scottie. How are we tonight? Fantastic. Thank you very much, Joe. There we are. How is it Ukraine can play during a war? Interesting. Well, wait a minute. Let's find out, did Rangers and Celtic play during the war? Did Manchester United play during the war? Education is only for those who want to listen. The self-righteous won't ever listen to reason. Called Brandist. You're 100% correct there. Scottie McCLUE for Prime Minister. How thinks Scottie, says Joe. Dinky do. You're live on Scottie's Phone In. Who's that?
It's me, it's David's son. How are you?
David's son, how are you, Lala? Nice to hear you.
I'm good, son. I just joined in about 20 minutes ago. I didn't know you were on.
No, well, I didn't know I was on myself till I pressed the button. And I thought, oh, there's me sitting there. I better start talking.
Good man. Scottie, right. The highway codes, here we go. It's about the plane that they're changing again, right?
Yes.
Right, they say if you let the police and ambulance go by, we'll get a fine. What are they playing at?
Get a fine? What do they mean if you pull in to let them go by?
Yes, it's all over. It's also a talk show that I was watching, and on Facebook and in the papers. Seriously, it's coming out.
I find this very, very strange. I find this very strange. What I would rather see is the highway code ban motorcycles from going up between the lanes on the motorway.
Yeah.
Because I think that's dangerous. They frighten the life out of you.
It's true.
Yeah, well, I find this very strange. You see, although if an ambulance or a police car runs a red light, I think they turn a blind eye, but it's still against the law. There's only one vehicle can go through a red light unchallenged. Do you know what that one is?
No, son, you tell me.
It's. Do you want to have a guess?
Well, I still say the police and ambulance can just drive through the red lights, you know.
Well, they do if it's a real emergency, but it's still a moot point. They would turn a blind eye to it. But the one that can legally, there's one vehicle can legally run the red light.
Right, you're clever. What is this?
It's the Royal Mail.
Oh, right, can they?
Because it's the Queen's Mail and it must get through.
Wow, that's quite amazing, right?
Now, let me tell you this. I posted on YouTube and TikTok a picture of the old Columba.
Right.
Now, the Columba came into service. She was built by J&G Thompson at Govan. And she came into service in 1878. She's a big paddle steamer that could do over 20 knots. And she ran till 1936, and the Scots loved her. She left the Broomielaw at 11 minutes past 7 every morning. And on board her was the post office and a barber shop. Plus, of course, you could get your breakfast, dinner, and tea. Now, she went all the way to Ardrishig in Argyll, calling in at Gurrock, Dunoon, Enellin, Rothsay, Tinnabruach, the Kyles of Bute, Tarbert, and up to Ardrishig. Now, they loved the Columba, and I've also posted a picture of the Columba in at Ardrishig in the 1890s. So have a look at that, Davy. Now, it was heartbreaking. My father loved the Columba because she was just gorgeous, big gleaming paddle engines. And she was so smooth. Now, the Columba was the RMS Columba.
Yeah.
Now, what does that stand for?
You tell me, son.
Royal Mail Steamship. Royal Mail Steamship. And the reason that these McBrain's boats were so successful, they had the contract for the Royal Mail.
You're incredible. I mean, do you know what? You're such a soul-happy, lovely guy. Because see the last caller?
Yes, Eddie.
You should be standing for Parliament. What's going on here?
Well, I'll maybe have to do it because I'll be honest with you. I am right at this moment considering the next step. Because I've had some very, very interesting appointments in my life. and I feel fortunate.
If you start that me will not see on YouTube.
You'll see me on YouTube, you'll be seeing lots of me, but I would imagine the first day I got to Parliament, I would be pulled in by the Chief Whip, who would say to me, now, let me give you a piece of advice, Scottie.
Yes.
Shut your gob. Speak when spoken to.
Yes.
And they might try and silence me, you see.
Yeah, I mean, nobody can silence you.
You know?
Oh, not at all. No.
I could wave my paper, Mr. Speaker.
Brilliant.
And he could say, Mr. McCLUE, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have never heard so much nonsense as we've heard today from the honourable gentleman opposite.
And you are telling the whole truth and nothing but I know you would do that.
Oh yes.
Because that's mad. The Madam Speaker's got a sheet to teaching shouting, hey, everybody listen to me.
Absolutely. Order.
Goodness sake, but honestly, the highway court is the highway.
Well,
When this new law comes up, the highway court, as you know, John drives, I don't. But we would still stop the car to let the police and ambulance by and take the fine.
Well, we all do it. I mean, we did it the other day, even at rush hour.
I mean, honestly, so the emergency services will be thinking, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, everybody pulls in, no matter how narrow it is, to let them through. They're up the other side of the road. They're through the red light. The whole lot.
Yeah. So after this call, go into your homework.
I will.
Coming out, Scottie.
I will, and I will find out what on earth's going on here.
Yeah, the highway coach. Who the hell are these highway coach people?
Because the last time, apart from when I was doing my driving test, I remember getting a certificate for cycling proficiency, and I think it was signed by Ernest Marples, the Minister for Transport. Ernest Marples. My highway code was signed by Ernest Marples.
Wow, right, okay. So obviously, is he dead now?
Oh, I would think he'll be well gone. And there was another man, and he was called Leslie Hoare, Hore, hyphen Belisha.
My goodness.
Leslie Hoare Belisha. And Leslie Hoare Belisha was responsible for the Belisha Beacon.
Oh, you mean, so Belisha, you mean as in Beacons?
Yes, Leslie Hoare Belisha was, I think he must have been the Minister for Transport, and he brought in the Belisha Beacon at the zebra crossing.
Right, I see, right. Oh, wow, you've swallowed a lot of books in your time.
Swallowed the books, and I can remember trying to cross the Great Western Road out near where you are, and and a policeman came up to me and he says, there's a zebra crossing down the road there. I says, well, I hope he's having more luck than me.
Oh, it's crazy, you know what I mean? Honestly, Scotty's know that. See the Great Western Road, see that we've been on what you call high nights. So we drive down the hill.
Very nice.
And then we get to the bottom of the hill. It's quite dangerous. There should be lights there.
The whole thing, and especially in the winter with the snow and ice.
Yeah, it's awful, Scottie. And when John gets up the hill and he tries to get to the middle of, the cones, I start to panic in case there's a big crash.
But we don't want that, but I always love the fact that when you say you're from Knightswood, people go, ooh, very nice.
Personally, I think Knightswood should be called Forest Hall. No, Forest Hall, whatever, because it's full of trees and bushes, where we can see all the forest. We're looking down, we're up the hill,
And it used to sound very posh when people say, where are you from? And they used to say, from King's Ridge in the Drum.
Oh, I came from... I used to go to dances in King's Ridge secondary school.
Yes, fantastic. King's Ridge in the Drum. Oh, King's Ridge, very nice.
I came from all parts of Drumchapel.
Lovely.
To Cairndrummer Road.
We love it.
You know?
The only problem with Drumchapel is people come in from Bearsden and pinch the Wayne's bikes, you know.
That's true, yeah. It just shows you, do you know what I mean? You know, Drumchapel, as you know, okay, it's a big facelift, but it's still the same if you get me.
Okay,
You know?
there's a lot of warmth. I used to go out. I can remember when we started the phone-ins, I got an invitation to go out to the Drum and lecture, I use the word, the young people on drug abuse.
Oh yes, it's still here. Drug abuse is here.
So I had to swat up on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, my friend. You know.
So there you are, Davey. Not for the faint-hearted, I can't tell you. But our lovely caller, do you remember Big Hamish from the Drum? They used to come.
That's right. Ever since when you were on Nation Radio.
Yes, and he used to come on and play the mouth organ.
What son, sorry?
He used to come on and play the mouth organ.
Yeah, the mouth organ, yes. He's got a girlfriend from Partick.
That's right. He used to call her Big, and then he changed it.
And we mad Jean.
Yes! Fantastic.
She was hilarious.
They were great people.
She was hilarious. And it's a wee shame. I wish we Jean knew you were on YouTube.
Oh, bless them. I know, we'll need to get a bit more of that.
Yes. I mean, I go to Drumchapel shopping centre for my shopping. I go to shopping a bit. But anyway, I wish I could shout, is wee Jean here?
Wee Jean about here.
Do you know what I mean? Honestly, somebody must know her well.
Oh, yes. I mean, but these are lovely people. We used to have some great chat with them.
They were wonderful. Do you know what I mean? And the laughing policeman from Partick.
Oh, he was a hoot. He used to go, oh, Scottie. Oh.
That's right. But all right, Jonathan was a wee bit out of hand.
Jonathan could get a bit out of hand. Jonathan came on here one night. It was amazing.
He did. I heard him. I was tuning in. He's right. Do you know what I'm like? He's very pompous, right?
He's very pompous, and he drives. I mean, if you're driving a car worth 150 grand.
Yes, exactly. He was talking about his car. I know. You know. And just I was thinking, off the radio.
We used to shout on the wireless, get him off.
I mean, he was talking about homeless people. All right, there's homeless people everywhere. He was saying, I'm giving him like corned beef sandwiches. No, give him a couple of pounds.
Give him a couple of quid.
I'm corned beef sandwiches, right?
You know, I cannot believe these idiots that think if we didn't have the Queen, the poor would disappear.
Well, there you go. I'll be tuning in this weekend. It's going to be great. Oh, fantastic.
Oh, that's going to be a cracker. And I think at some point, David, we'll pop up tomorrow and we'll pop up on Friday.
So what are you going to do for the Queen? Are you going to go to a street party somewhere?
Well, I've been invited to that many street parties, but what I think we might do is go live.
Right.
And maybe get people to phone in from their street parties.
Yeah, obviously I'm in Knightswood. There's a lot of old people. I can imagine a street party somewhere in my streets. You know what I mean?
That would be good. I'll tell you, can I give you a wee laugh? A friend of mine was telling me he was having a meeting of church ministers, and he said, and he was showing them. He says, he says, now this is a very good PowerPoint. He says, so I suggest you all use it. And this old minister goes, could I just say, a lot of my congregation are quite elderly and they like to sit at the back. He says, and they might not see it. So he says, he turns and he says, with a straight face, Davey, he goes, well, do you think maybe on this occasion you could ask them to sit at the front?
You know, Scottie, right, you see today, I don't know if you do you know Knightswood Cross?
Yes, very well.
Right.
Do you mind? Is that where the shops? Is that where the shops are?
The big church.
The shops are there, and the big church high up.
That's right, and the first bit is the poppies, and it's got a big statue of the men who died in the war.
Yes, yes.
I was in there today, Scottie. It's beautiful with all the poppies.
Fantastic.
And people, me and John were just sitting, reading people who passed away during the war.
Aye.
And it's a beautiful place to sit, right across from the church at Knightswood Cross. It's stunning, Scottie.
The Knightswood Cross, where the shops are.
Well, see, right, so you come down to start, see like Baldwin Avenue?
Yes.
Right, it's right down there at the end of Knightswood Cross,
Right.
the lights.
Through the lights, yeah, I know where you are.
Sorry, I'm butting in there. It's a field full of like people who died, veterans, and poppies, and it's all green, it's beautiful, there's poppies everywhere, and it's stunning, Scottie.
Wonderful. Davey,
Yeah,
you're stunning, you're a great man, love to you and John.
You too, I will do, my friend. You take care, and we'll talk tomorrow, maybe?
We'll talk tomorrow, I would look forward to it, and dinky do.
Thank you, my
Dinky
friend.
do-la. That's it, Davey. What a great guy. Fantastic. Now then, what do we got here? Hi, Scottie, dinky do. Good evening, Scottie. I was disappointed with the Scotland result. Well done, Ukraine. Great to see the love and solidarity between Scotland and the Ukraine. Hope your projector's working. Colin, thank you very much. Yes, the projector, the ongoing saga, a real top man came down and repaired it, sorted it all out. There was a wire out the wall and what have you, and this real top man, first-class technician, came down and put things right. So thank you for asking, Colin. But everything's working absolutely dinky-doo, as we say. And that was this top man. You might know him, first-class technician, because I know you hang around with some pretty swish characters that are technically minded. There we are. The Nation Radio Day, where the fun is. A Kenna lassie frae Knightswood called Lee Ann. Yes, I think there might be a few. I don't think that narrows it down too much. So there we have it. Dinky do, Scottie. Shout out to Craig Cameron. Of course, we're going to have to dash, guys. We're right out of time. One English judge said the postal vote was as secure as a banana republic. Andrew, sorry, the referendum was rigged. It's not beyond the British system. Politicians should hang their heads in shame to serve the people. Aye, right. They're here to serve the people. Good luck, Wales. So there we are. The conviction politicians of yesterday are not today's political elite. No, but there might be a few more conviction politicians, if you get my drift. The Conservative Party of yesterday is not the same party of today. No, I would say it's actually been hijacked, to be honest, with the caliber of some of the people. We are getting our oil money back, Andrew. We certainly should. Scottie the legend. You're right about London, says Andrew. I like the Queen, I mean. So there we are. Join the SNP or become an Alba candidate, says Andrew. Right, there we are. Do it. I find you so interested, Scottie. John, you're very kind. And dinky do. 1.5 trillion through the financial centre in Edinburgh. Have discussion instead of everyone telling everyone about you. People will share at their will. Chap 55, I'm sure they will share at their will. I totally agree. Freedom. Hello. Scottie McCLUE, yo. 3-1 Ukraine. Well done. There we are. All right, pal. There we go. That's just manners. Emergency services are trained to travel under the blue lights. Hello, sir. Hi, sir. Dinky do. Why don't you stand for an MSP? Right. I'll leave you with this. Do I become an MP or an MSP? A Mike Papa or a Mike Sierra Papa? Scottie McCLUE saying dinky do to every one of you. Thanks for watching. I love you. There we are. That's our beautiful, beautiful TikTokers have had to go. And how fantastic are they? Just amazing. Now then, to our beautiful Facebookers and YouTubers and LinkedIners and Facebook Livers and Twitchers, just a joy being with you. Always a pleasure, Scottie, says the wonderful Colin. Dinky do, Colin Hogg. Good night, Scottie and Kareem. Sleep well. Thank you, Susan. The Kareem and Davy show. Streaky. We could make it the Streaky Bacon show. Get your act together. Enjoy being with you. Set your notifications. I will pop up random tomorrow and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Until then, this is Scottie McCLUE saying dinky doo to every one of you. And ta-ra, lads, stick out your tongues and say ta-ta, bye.